The sound woke me at 2:17 a.m. Scrape, scrape, thunk. I'm 68 years old. I've been a light sleeper since my wife Margaret died 2 years ago. Every creak in this old house echoes differently now that I'm alone. But this sound? This wasn't the house settling. This was metal hitting earth. I pulled myself out of bed, my knees protesting like they always do, and shuffled to the window. The motion sensor lights should have kicked on, but they stayed dark. Someone had disabled them. That told me everything I needed to know. There, under the massive oak tree where Margaret and I carved our initials 43 years ago, was my eldest son, Marcus. He was digging, frantically, desperately, like a man possessed. His wife Rachel stood beside him, sweeping a metal detector back and forth, its little red light blinking in the darkness. Beep, beep, beep. My breath fogged the window glass. The smell of rain hung heavy in the October air, seeping through the old window frames. I could hear Marcus's grunt of effort as his shovel hit something solid. Could hear Rachel's excited whisper, "That's it, dig faster." My own son, stealing from me, in the dead of night. If you've ever been betrayed by someone you raised, fed, loved, sacrificed everything for, you know this feeling. It's not anger at first. It's something colder, something that settles in your chest like ice water. It's the moment you realize the person standing in your backyard isn't the child you remember. It's a stranger wearing your son's face. I watched Marcus pull out his phone, the screen illuminating his face. That face I'd seen take his first breath. That face I'd kissed goodnight 1,000 times. Now twisted with greed, with desperation, with the absolute certainty that his senile old father would never know what happened. Here's what my children didn't understand. I'd been playing confused for 6 months. The forgotten names, the repeated stories, the blank stares, all an act, a test. They failed. See, Marcus thought he was clever. Thought he'd found my hiding place by going through old photo albums, by watching where I walked in the yard, by tracking my movements like I was some doddering fool who couldn't remember where he'd buried his life savings. He thought I'd be easy prey. But before I became their forgetful father, I spent 35 years as a forensic accountant for the FBI. I tracked down drug cartels, money launderers, and white-collar criminals who thought they were smarter than everyone else. I've forgotten more about catching thieves than Marcus will ever know about being one. Scrape, scrape, crack. The shovel hit the waterproof container. I could see Marcus's smile even in the darkness. "Got it," he hissed. Oh, Marcus, my boy, if you only knew what you just found. But there was something my son didn't know about his weak old father, and by the time he figured it out, it would be too late. If you want to see how this ends, hit that subscribe button right now because this revenge is just getting started. I didn't confront Marcus that night. Instead, I stood at my bedroom window and watched my son and his wife carry that container to their car. Watch them drive away with what they thought was their inheritance. Watch the taillights disappear down Maple Street, the same street where I'd taught Marcus to ride a bike when he was 6 years old. Then I went back to bed. You want to know what $850,000 in gold and cash feels like when you bury it? It feels like failure. Like every promise you made to your dying wife about keeping the family together was just words in the wind. Margaret and I spent 43 years building that nest egg. 43 years of sacrifices, of choosing the cheaper vacation so we could save more, of driving old cars while our neighbors bought new ones. Margaret died on a Tuesday. Pancreatic cancer. They say it's one of the worst ways to go, and they're right. I held her hand for 72 straight hours at the end. Didn't sleep, didn't eat. Just held her hand and told her I loved her while the morphine stole her away piece by piece. The medical bills were catastrophic. Even with insurance, we burned through $200,000 in 6 months. I liquidated our stocks, cashed out bonds, emptied our savings account. I told the kids the money was mostly gone, that we'd spent it all trying to keep their mother alive. I didn't tell them about the gold. See? Back in 2008, I watched the financial system nearly collapse. I was working the Bernard Madoff case at the time, $50 billion in fraud, people's entire life savings evaporated overnight. I saw elderly couples who'd trusted the system lose everything. I made a promise to myself then. If something ever happened to Margaret, I'd protect what was left in a way no bank, no market crash, no corrupt financial advisor could touch. So 3 weeks after Margaret's funeral, I converted $850,000 into gold coins and cash, buried it in waterproof military-grade containers on our property, 4 different locations. I was FBI for 35 years. I know how to hide things. My children thought I was being paranoid, thought grief had made me unstable. They had no idea how unstable I was about to become. It started small. That's how betrayal always starts. Small enough that you can almost convince yourself you're imagining it. Marcus came over for Sunday dinner. We've been doing Sunday dinners since Margaret died. His idea, he said. You shouldn't be alone, Dad. I made pot roast, Margaret's recipe. He ate 3 helpings and asked for the leftovers. I excused myself to use the bathroom. Old man's bladder, I told him. Can't make it through dinner anymore without a break. He laughed, patted my shoulder, called me Pops, like I was already ancient. But I didn't go to the bathroom. I went to the hallway where I could hear him on his phone. Old habits from the bureau. You learn to walk silently, to position yourself where you can listen without being seen. Lisa. Yeah, he's in the bathroom. Listen, we need to talk about the POA situation. Power of attorney. My stomach clenched. I know, but we can't wait much longer. Did you see him tonight? He forgot he already told me about fixing the fence. Told me the same story twice in 10 minutes. He's getting worse. I hadn't forgotten anything. I'd been testing him, seeing if he'd call me on the repetition, if he'd show concern. He hadn't. He just smiled and nodded and let his senile father ramble. Once we get power of attorney, we can access everything, Marcus continued. Bank accounts, investments, whatever he's got hidden. And trust me, he's got something hidden. Mom's medical bills couldn't have taken it all. The toilet flushed down the hall, the one in the guest bathroom controlled by a timer I'd installed, one of many little tricks I'd set up around the house. Gotta go. Dad's coming back. Sunday at your place? Yeah, we'll bring Daniel too. I shuffled back into the dining room, moving slower than necessary, letting my hand shake slightly as I picked up my water glass. Marcus watched me with eyes I didn't recognize anymore, calculating eyes. The eyes of someone measuring an obstacle, not a father. Everything okay, Pops? Just fine, son, just fine. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Margaret's last words to me. She'd grabbed my hand with what little strength she had left and whispered, "Don't let them become monsters, James. Promise me." I'd promised. But watching Marcus that night, I wondered if I was already too late. Daniel showed up unannounced on Wednesday, my youngest. The one who used to bring me dandelions from the yard when he was 4, called them sunshine flowers. The one I paid $30,000 in student loans for when he couldn't find work after college. "Hey, Dad, just wanted to check on you," he said, giving me a hug that felt rehearsed. "Thought maybe we could watch the game together?" I made popcorn, settled into Margaret's old recliner. I still couldn't sit in mine. It felt wrong without her in hers beside me. Daniel sprawled on the couch, eyes on the TV. The Ravens were playing the Steelers. Daniel had never cared about football. "Dad, you mind if I use your bathroom? The downstairs one is acting up again." "Sure, son, you know where it is." He headed upstairs. The game continued. 4th quarter, Ravens down by 3. I waited exactly 90 seconds, long enough for him to reach the upstairs bathroom, but not long enough to actually use it. Then I climbed the stairs, slowly, like an old man would. My knees didn't creak. I was in better shape than I let on, but I made them sound like they did. Daniel wasn't in the bathroom. He was in my study, going through my desk drawers. I watched from the hallway as my youngest son rifled through personal papers, bank statements, insurance documents, Margaret's death certificate, which he unfolded and read like it was a stock report. He pulled out his phone and started photographing everything. The floorboard I was standing on creaked. I'd done it on purpose. Old FBI trick. Always know which boards sing. Daniel spun around, eyes wide, then forced a smile. "Oh, hey, Dad, I was just looking for that photo you mentioned. The one of Mom at the beach?" "Wrong room, son. Photos are in the living room. You know that." Right. Got confused. This house is so big. 1,200 square feet. He'd grown up here. Knew every inch of it. "You feel okay, Dad? You look tired." "I'm fine, Daniel. Just old." That night, I checked the security cameras I'd installed 6 months ago. Hidden devices. The kind the FBI uses for surveillance. The kind my children didn't know existed. The footage showed Daniel going through my desk for 23 minutes. Taking photos of 47 different documents. Then texting someone. I zoomed in on the reflection in the window glass, an old investigator's trick. The text read, "Nothing yet, but he's definitely hiding something. Checking the garage next week." Lisa brought the attorney on a Tuesday afternoon. Didn't call ahead, didn't ask if it was convenient, just showed up with a woman in an expensive pantsuit and a briefcase that screamed, "I charge $400 an hour." "Dad, this is Sarah Mitchell. She's an estate attorney and a close friend of mine. I thought it would be good for you two to meet." Sarah Mitchell extended her hand. Her grip was firm, practiced. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. I'd interrogated enough white-collar criminals to recognize someone following a script. "Mr. Patterson, it's wonderful to meet you. Lisa speaks so highly of you." "Does she?" I let my voice crack slightly, made myself smaller in my chair. That's nice to hear. Dad, Sarah specializes in helping seniors with estate planning. Making sure everything is in order for when... Lisa's voice trailed off, going for emotional. "For when I die," I finished. "You can say it, sweetheart. I'm not afraid of the word." Sarah Mitchell opened her briefcase, pulled out documents. Standard power of attorney forms, revocable living trust paperwork, all legitimate, all legal. All designed to transfer complete control of my assets to my children. "Mr. Patterson, at your age, it's important to have safeguards in place. What if something happens? What if you have a medical emergency and can't make decisions for yourself?" "I have a living will," I said slowly, like I was struggling to remember. "Margaret and we did that years ago." "Yes, but that's different," Sarah pressed. "This is about day-to-day financial decisions, making sure your bills are paid, your assets are protected, your children love you and want to help." Lisa knelt beside my chair, took my hand, the same hand she used to hold when crossing the street as a little girl. "Dad, we just want what's best for you. Marcus and Daniel agree. We all think it's time." "Time for what?" "Time to let us help you," Lisa said softly. "Time to admit you can't manage everything on your own anymore." I looked at the documents, looked at my daughter, looked at this attorney who'd probably been promised a nice referral fee. "I need to think about it," I said. Sarah's smile tightened. "Of course. But Mr. Patterson, these things are time-sensitive. At your age, you never know." I said I need to think about it. I let steel creep into my voice, just a hint. Just enough to remind them I wasn't completely gone. Lisa shot Sarah a look. They gathered the papers, made promises to come back soon. After they left, I sat in the silence of my empty house and thought about Margaret. She'd known. At the end, when the cancer was eating her alive, she'd looked at me with clear eyes and said, "They're going to come for the money, James. When I'm gone, they're going to circle like vultures." "Don't say that," I'd told her. "They're our children." "And I love them," she'd whispered. "But love doesn't change greed." I'd wanted to believe she was wrong, wanted to believe our children were better than that. I logged into my computer that night and accessed Marcus's Wi-Fi through a back door I'd installed months ago. Another old FBI trick. I taught him his network security when he bought his house, helped him set up his router. He had no idea I'd left myself admin access. His search history told me everything. How to prove parent is incompetent. Power of attorney and inheritance. Can siblings split inheritance before parent dies? Best assisted living facilities under $3,000 a month. They'd already picked out where they were going to put me, Maple Ridge Senior Living. I pulled up the website. Looked nice enough. 200 square feet, shared bathroom down the hall, activities like bingo and chair yoga. Margaret and I had honeymooned in Paris. I'd carried her across the threshold of our first apartment. We danced in our living room to Frank Sinatra at midnight when the kids were asleep, and my children thought I'd be fine in 200 square feet with strangers and bingo. That's when I stopped feeling sad and started feeling something else. Something cold, something patient, something very, very dangerous. The group chat was called Estate Planning. I found it on Marcus's laptop when he left it at my house after Sunday dinner. He'd been showing me photos of his kids, my grandchildren, and got a call from work. "Emergency," he said. "Gotta go. Be back in an hour for the laptop." He never came back that night. Probably forgot. Probably thought his senile old father wouldn't know how to use it anyway. I read 3 months of messages. Marcus, Dad's getting worse. Caught him putting milk in the pantry yesterday. Lisa, he's not safe alone anymore. What if he falls? What if he leaves the stove on? Daniel, so what's the plan? We can't just wait for him to burn the house down. Marcus, Mom's attorney said we need POA first, then we can move forward with the facility. Lisa, what about the money? He says it's gone, but I don't buy it. Dad was FBI. He knows how to hide things. Daniel, found an old photo in the attic. Dad digging near the big oak tree, 1985. Think that means something? Marcus, worth checking out. Worst case, we tear up the yard after he's in the home. Lisa, once Dad's in the home, we split everything 3 ways. Equal shares. Agreed? Marcus, agreed. Daniel, agreed. Marcus, give it 2 months. We'll have him declared incompetent, get the POA signed by the judge if we have to, and get access to everything. Then Dad goes to Maple Ridge, and we can finally deal with this. Lisa, think he'll fight it? Marcus, he can barely remember what day it is. He won't even understand what's happening. I read those messages 3 times, memorized every word, every betrayal. Then I did what I'd been trained to do for 35 years. I started building a case. I pulled up the security camera footage and started making copies. 4 weeks of my children searching my house. 4 weeks of lies and manipulation. 4 weeks of them treating their father like an obstacle to be removed. I accessed their financial records, another FBI trick, knowing how to pull public information that most people don't know exists. Marcus was $50,000 in debt. Lisa's husband had lost his job 6 months ago. She'd kept it secret. Daniel had invested in cryptocurrency and lost 70% of his savings. They weren't just greedy, they were desperate. That's when I made my decision. Margaret had made me promise not to let them become monsters, but the truth was, they already were. I hadn't created them. I'd been blind to them. And now? Now I was going to do what I did best. I was going to catch criminals. The only difference was, this time, the criminals were wearing my last name. I opened a new folder on my computer, labeled it Case File Patterson Estate Fraud. Started documenting everything with the same methodical precision I'd used on $100 million embezzlement cases. Marcus wanted to dig up my backyard? I'd let him. Let him think he'd found what he was looking for. Let all 3 of them believe they'd outsmarted the old man. Then I'd show them what happens when you steal from someone who spent 3.5 decades teaching white-collar criminals that they weren't as smart as they thought. My children wanted my money. They were about to learn the most expensive lesson of their lives, and I was going to enjoy every single minute of it. The morning after I read their group chat, I walked out to the oak tree where Margaret and I had carved our initials in 1982. The bark had grown over them now, swallowing our promise to love each other forever. I pressed my hand against the rough wood and made a different kind of promise. "I'm going to teach them, Maggie," I whispered, "just like you asked." Then I got to work. First, I needed to confirm my actual assets were safe. The real containers were buried in 4 locations across the property: one under the garden shed foundation, one beneath the rose bushes Margaret had planted, one inside a false bottom in the old well, and one in a waterproof case submerged in the koi pond. $850,000 split into 4 caches of $212,000 each. I'd buried them using techniques I'd learned tracking drug money, locations that wouldn't show up on ground-penetrating radar, wouldn't trigger metal detectors, wouldn't be found by amateur treasure hunters with YouTube tutorials. I checked each location. Undisturbed. Perfect. Now for the bait. I drove to Home Depot and bought 4 military-grade waterproof containers, paid cash, then to a craft store for gold spray paint and lead weights. The kid at the register looked at me like I was building a science project. "Making treasure for my grandkids," I told him with a shaky smile. "Pirate birthday party." He'd never know how close to the truth that was. Back home, I spray-painted 200 lead coins until they gleamed like gold. Let them dry in the garage while I handled the cash. I had a storage unit across town where I'd kept evidence from old cases, including $500,000 in marked bills from a 2007 money laundering investigation. The case had closed, the criminals were in prison, but the FBI had let me keep the marked currency as training material. Every bill had a microscopic tracking code visible only under UV light. Those bills were about to become the most expensive mistake my children would ever make. I loaded the fake gold coins and marked bills into the containers, sealed them tight, and buried them exactly where Daniel's photo had shown me digging in 1985, 3 feet down under the oak tree's shadow, deep enough to look legitimate, shallow enough that Marcus wouldn't need a backhoe. Then I created the paperwork. 35 years at the FBI had taught me how criminals create false documents. Now I use those same techniques for justice. I fabricated bank statements showing a deposit of $850,000, dated 3 months after Margaret's death. The memo line read, "Sale of 247 Maple Street, adjacent property." We'd never owned 247 Maple Street, but the house existed. It had sold 2 years ago, and the price was exactly right. Any of my children could verify the sale happened. They just couldn't verify we'd owned it, because I'd buried the deed in paperwork so complex it would take a forensic accountant weeks to untangle. By then, it would be too late. I left these documents in my desk drawer, the second drawer down behind my reading glasses case, where someone searching my desk would find them but think I'd tried to hide them. Then came the cameras. I already had 6 hidden cameras. Now I installed 12 more. Behind picture frames, inside smoke detectors, in the garage rafters, even one inside an old radio on my workbench. Every angle of my property covered, every conversation recorded, every theft documented. I called my old partner from the bureau, Tom Rodriguez. He'd retired 3 years before me, moved to Florida, spent his days fishing and playing poker. "Tommy, I need a favor." "James? Christ, I haven't heard from you in months. How you doing?" "I need access to the equipment locker." Long pause. "Official business?" "Personal, but important." "You know I can't just—" "It's about my kids, Tom." Another pause. Longer. Tom had met my children at Christmas parties, had watched them grow up in family photos on my desk. "What did they do?" "What didn't they do?" "Jesus, okay, I'll make a call. But James, be careful, whatever you're planning. I know what I'm doing. That's what worries me." 2 days later, I had access to FBI-grade surveillance equipment, audio enhancement, signal jammers, GPS trackers, everything I needed to build an airtight case. I planted a GPS tracker on Marcus's car, on Lisa's minivan, on Daniel's motorcycle. I wanted to know where they went, who they met, when they conspired, because they would conspire. Criminals always do. The cameras caught them before I expected. Marcus showed up at 11 a.m. I was in the garden pretending to struggle with the hose. The water pressure was fine. I'd turned it down myself, but I made a show of looking confused, of fumbling with the nozzle. "Dad, you okay?" "Can't figure out this blasted thing. Worked fine yesterday." Marcus took the hose from my hands. It's just the pressure valve, see? He adjusted it, water flowing normally. There you go. Oh, thank you, son. I don't know what I'd do without you. He patted my shoulder, smiled. That's what I'm here for, Pops. Then he went inside. I continued watering, watching him through the kitchen window via the camera feed on my phone. He went straight to my desk, opened the second drawer, found the fake bank statements. I watched his eyes widen. Watched him pull out his phone, watched him photograph every single page. If you could have seen his face, pure greed wrapped in a practiced smile. That's the moment I knew there was no going back. He came back outside 5 minutes later. Hey, Dad, I gotta run. Work emergency. On a Saturday? Yeah, crazy, right? But hey, you need anything before I go? No, you're a good son, Marcus. The words tasted like ash in my mouth. The GPS trackers showed me everything. Marcus drove straight from my house to Lisa's. 45 minutes later, Daniel's motorcycle pulled into her driveway. They were inside for 3 hours. I knew they were planning, knew they were looking at those bank statements, discussing what to do with their discovery. The cameras I'd placed in Marcus's car picked up audio when he left. Marcus on the phone with Lisa. $850,000. I saw the deposit slip myself. Lisa's voice excited. From selling a house we didn't even know about? There's probably more. Dad was FBI. Who knows what other properties he bought under different names? We need to move faster. If he dies before we get POA, he's not dying anytime soon, but he is losing it. Last week he put his keys in the refrigerator. I'd put my keys in the refrigerator on purpose. Right next to the milk I'd accidentally put in the pantry. Every confused moment was calculated. Every test they failed was documented. Week 3, Tuesday evening. The GPS showed all 3 of my children converging on Marcus's house at 7 p.m. I'd expected this. Criminals always need face-to-face meetings when they're planning something big. Digital trails can be tracked, but a conversation in Marcus's living room? They thought that was safe. They'd forgotten their father was FBI. I'd planted a listening device in Marcus's house 6 months ago, hidden inside a pen I'd given him for Christmas. Parker Jotter, same one I used at the bureau. He kept it on his desk, right where I knew he would. The pen was also a wireless microphone, military grade with a range of 2 miles. I sat in my car 3 blocks away, headphones on, and listened to my children divide up my life. So we're agreed, Marcus's voice. We move up the timeline. What about the stroke plan? Lisa asked. Forget the stroke. We go straight to the POA. Sarah said she can get it done with a judge's signature if Dad's clearly incompetent. Is he? Daniel sounded uncertain. I mean, he seems pretty with it sometimes. Doesn't matter what he seems like. Matter is what we can prove. Lisa, you'll testify about the pantry incident. Daniel, you'll testify about him getting lost driving home from church. I'll bring up the keys in the refrigerator. We're lying to a judge, Daniel said quietly. We're protecting our inheritance, Marcus corrected. Dad's gonna lose that money. You know he will. He'll give it to some church, some charity, some random person who's nice to him at the grocery store. This way, it stays in the family. That's what Mom would have wanted. Don't you dare, I thought. Don't you dare use your mother's name to justify this. When do we dig? Lisa asked. Soon, but we need to be smart. If we dig and don't find anything, Dad might realize we're onto him. We do the POA first, get legal control. Then we search properly. And if we find the money, then Dad has a sudden decline, gets confused, can't live alone anymore. We place him in Maple Ridge, sell the house, and split everything 3 ways. Quick, clean, legal. Legal. The word hung in the air like poison gas. I'll call Sarah tomorrow, Marcus continued. Get the POA paperwork ready. We do this right. We have full access to Dad's accounts by the end of the month. I'd heard enough. I drove home, made myself a bourbon, Margaret's favorite, Maker's Mark, and sat in the darkness of our living room, the room where I'd held my babies, where we'd celebrated birthdays and Christmases, where Margaret and I had danced on New Year's Eve until the kids complained we were embarrassing. This room held 40 years of memories, and my children wanted to sell it to the highest bidder. I raised my glass to Margaret's photo on the mantel. They took the bait, honey. Phase 1 complete. The photo didn't answer, but I could almost hear her voice. Make them understand, James. Make them feel what we felt. I fully intended to. The stroke happened on a Wednesday. I'd called my old friend, Dr. Richard Chen, the week before. Rich had worked as a medical consultant for the FBI, had testified as an expert witness in dozens of cases. He owed me. I'd helped clear his name when a defense attorney tried to discredit his testimony in a murder trial. Rich, I need you to diagnose me with a TIA. A transient ischemic attack? James, that's fake. I know. I need documentation for a case I'm building. Against who? My children. Silence. Then, Jesus Christ, James, what did they do? Everything. He agreed to help. The stroke occurred at precisely 2:47 p.m. I made sure I was at the grocery store, public place, plenty of witnesses. I'd been standing in the cereal aisle when I let myself stumble, grabbed the shelf, knocked 3 boxes of Cheerios onto the floor. Sir, are you okay? The teenage stock boy looked terrified. I don't, where am I? I let my words slur, let my left hand shake. Classic TIA symptoms. Someone call 911. The ambulance arrived in 8 minutes. The EMTs were professional, concerned, completely convinced. Rich met me at the hospital, ran all the standard tests, documented possible TIA in my chart. Marcus arrived within the hour. Dad, oh my God, the hospital called me. What happened? I looked at him with genuine fear in my eyes, not fear of a stroke, fear of what I was becoming to catch him. Marcus? How did I get here? You're in the hospital, Dad. You had a stroke. A stroke? No, I was at the store. I was buying. I let myself trail off, staring at the ceiling like I couldn't quite remember. Rich pulled Marcus aside. I could hear every word. The hospital room audio was crystal clear on my phone's recording app. Your father had what we call a TIA, a mini stroke. No permanent damage, but it's a warning sign. These can escalate. He'll need close monitoring. How close? Daily check-ins at minimum. Really, he shouldn't be living alone. I see. Marcus's voice changed, got sharper, more focused. Doctor, in your professional opinion, is my father capable of managing his own affairs? Beautiful. He'd walked right into it. At this time, yes. But cognitive decline can progress rapidly after a TIEA. You should have someone helping with financial decisions, medical appointments, that sort of thing. Like a power of attorney? That would be advisable, yes? I could practically hear Marcus smiling. They kept me overnight for observation. I played the part perfectly, confused about which room I was in, asking for Margaret like she was still alive, acting disoriented when nurses asked me simple questions. Lisa visited that evening, bringing flowers and crocodile tears. Oh, Daddy, we were so worried. Were you, sweetheart? Of course. When Marcus called, we thought we might lose you. No one lives forever, I said, letting my voice crack. Your mother knew that. She always said, what did she say? What, Dad? Something about the tree, the big oak tree. She made me promise. But I can't remember. I touched my temple like it hurt. Doctor says the stroke affected my memory. Lisa leaned forward. The oak tree? What about it? There's something important. But I can't. I closed my eyes, feigning exhaustion. I'm so tired, Lisa. It's okay, Dad. You rest. After she left, I checked the camera footage. She'd gone straight to the nurse's station, asking detailed questions about my prognosis, my competency, whether I'd be able to make medical decisions for myself, setting up her testimony, building her case. Perfect. Marcus brought the power of attorney documents back exactly when I expected, 5 days after my stroke. This time he had Lisa and Daniel with him, united front, 3 against 1. And this time, Sarah Mitchell, the attorney, brought a notary. Dad, we need to talk about your future, Marcus began. We were sitting in my living room with cameras in the ceiling fan, the lamp, and the picture frame above the couch. Every word recorded, every gesture captured. Future? I repeated, sounding uncertain. After your stroke, the doctors said you need help. We want to help you. I can manage, I said weakly. Can you? Lisa jumped in. Dad, last week you left the stove on for 6 hours. You could have burned the house down. I'd left the stove on for exactly 47 minutes, timing it so Lisa would discover it. But in her version, 6 hours sounded better. And you got lost driving home from church, Daniel added. His lie. I'd driven to a different church on purpose, testing if they were tracking me. They were. We're not trying to take over your life, Marcus said, using his gentle voice. The voice he probably used with clients before he convinced them to make bad investments. We just want to make sure you're safe, that your finances are protected, that Mom's legacy is preserved. There it was, Margaret's legacy, the key they thought would unlock my resistance. Sarah Mitchell spread the documents across my coffee table. Mr. Patterson, this is a standard power of attorney agreement. It allows your children to help manage your accounts, pay your bills, handle legal matters. You'll still have control. This just gives them the ability to step in if needed. Every word a lie, wrapped in legal language. I picked up a pen, stared at the documents, let my hand shake, just a little. Where do I sign? Right here, Mr. Patterson. Sarah pointed. I signed, slowly, my handwriting intentionally shaky. Each letter taking effort, but what they didn't see, what they couldn't see, was my lawyer, Robert Drummond, standing in the hallway just out of frame, watching, documenting, and recording on his own device the coercion, the pressure, the manipulation. The POA I signed was legally worthless. Rob had already filed paperwork with the court showing I'd been pressured to sign under duress, attaching photos of me post-stroke, medical records from Dr. Chen, and statements from witnesses who'd heard my children discussing their plan. But Marcus, Lisa, and Daniel didn't know that. They thought they'd won. I'd installed a camera in Marcus's car months ago, hidden in the sun visor clip. They never found it. The moment they left my house, the celebration started. Holy shit, we did it! Daniel's voice almost giddy. Told you he'd sign, Marcus said. The stroke made him vulnerable, perfect timing. I feel kind of bad, Lisa admitted. He looked so confused. He is confused, Marcus snapped. And he's only getting worse. We did the right thing. In a few months, he won't even remember this conversation. So what's next? Daniel asked. Next, we wait a week. Let him get comfortable with the new normal. Then we tell him we think it's time to look at assisted living options. Just visiting, just exploring. Get him used to the idea. And the digging? 2 weeks. We'll do it when he's at Lisa's for dinner. Go in, get the money, be gone before he's back. Clean and simple. Lisa's voice. What if there's more than 850,000? Then we're even luckier than we thought. They laughed, all 3 of them. Laughed about stealing from their father while I listened from my living room, bourbon in hand, recording every word. You hear that, Maggie? I said to the empty room. They're laughing. I wasn't laughing, but I was smiling, because in 2 weeks they were going to dig up exactly what I wanted them to find, and their laughter would turn to screams. I spent the next week playing my part beautifully, calling Marcus by his brother's name, forgetting appointments, leaving lights on overnight, each mistake carefully calculated, each confusion perfectly timed. The cameras showed my children documenting everything, Lisa taking photos of the lights left on, Daniel recording me on his phone when I forgot where I'd parked my car at church, Marcus keeping a journal, evidence of Dad's decline, the header read. They were building their incompetency case. I was building mine. Dr. Chen called me on day 3. James, how's the performance going? Oscar worthy. You? I've been getting calls from your kids, lots of questions about cognitive decline, memory loss, whether TIA patients can make sound decisions. What did you tell them? The truth, that you're fine. But I phrased it carefully. Said your cognition is currently stable, but that rapid decline is possible in patients your age. Perfect. That'll make them move faster. You sure you know what you're doing? Tommy asked me the same thing. And? I caught criminals for 35 years, Rich. This is just another case. Except the criminals are your kids, especially because they're my kids. On day 6, I sat them all down for dinner, made pot roast again, Margaret's recipe. They came because they had to, because appearances mattered, because they needed to maintain the illusion of being caring children. Over dessert, I let the bomb drop. I've been thinking about what you said, about assisted living. All 3 of them perked up like hunting dogs catching a scent. Yeah, Dad? Marcus leaned forward. Margaret always said I shouldn't be alone, said the house was too big for one person. I pushed my pie around my plate. Maybe she was right. We could look at some places, Lisa offered, just to see, no pressure. There's this nice facility, Maple Ridge, Daniel said, right on cue. Some of my friends' parents live there. They love it. Maybe. I nodded slowly. But first, I need to handle something important. What's that, Dad? I looked at each of them, met their eyes. Let them see what they wanted to see. Confusion, vulnerability, need. The treasure, I whispered. Under the tree. Margaret made me promise, but I can't remember what I was supposed to do with it. The silence was electric. What treasure, Dad? Marcus's voice was carefully controlled. Under the oak tree, where we carved our names. She said to keep it safe, for you children, for when I was gone. I shook my head. But maybe it's time. Maybe I should just give it to you now, before I forget where it is. No. Lisa said it too quickly, then softened. I mean, you don't have to do that. We can help you remember. We can help you manage it. I'd like that, I said. You're good children. Your mother would be proud. The lie hung between us like smoke. After they left, I pulled up the camera feed from Marcus's car. Did you hear that? Daniel's voice. He basically told us where it is. We stick to the plan, Marcus ordered. 2 weeks. We wait 2 weeks, then we dig. If we jump now, he might get suspicious. He can barely remember his own name, Lisa countered. He's not going to get suspicious. 2 weeks, Marcus repeated firmly. We do this right. I marked my calendar. 2 weeks from today was September 23rd. The day my children would commit federal crimes on camera. The day the trap would spring shut. September 23rd arrived with perfect weather, clear skies, mild temperature, excellent visibility for cameras. Lisa called me at 4 p.m. Dad, I was hoping you could come over for dinner tonight. The kids want to see their grandpa. My grandchildren. She was using them as bait. That stung more than I expected. I'd love that, sweetheart. Great. Come around 6. And Dad, maybe stay the night. You seemed tired last time, and I don't want you driving in the dark. Translation. We need you gone for at least 4 hours. That sounds nice, I said, adding a tremor to my voice. I'll pack a bag. I drove to Lisa's house at exactly 6 p.m. Her husband Tom answered the door, gave me an awkward hug. He was a good man, worked construction, loved his family, had no idea his wife was planning to rob her father. The kids, Emma, 8, and Jake, 6, crashed into me with real affection. Grandpa, that hurt too, because when this was over, I might lose them, might lose all my grandchildren. The price of justice isn't always fair. Dinner was pleasant. Lisa had made my favorite, chicken parmesan. We ate, we talked. The kids showed me drawings from school. I played the doting grandfather, the confused old man, the perfect mark. At 7:30 p.m., I excused myself to the bathroom, pulled out my phone. The cameras at my house showed 2 cars pulling into my driveway. Marcus's BMW, Daniel's pickup truck. It was happening. I watched on my phone as my 3 children got out of their vehicles. Marcus carrying bolt cutters. For what? I didn't have a fence. Daniel with a shovel. Lisa's husband thought she was home with me, but she'd probably made an excuse. Running to the store. meeting a friend for coffee. They were all there, all three of them, together in their crime. The cameras picked up every word. "Dad's at Lisa's until morning," Marcus said. "We've got all night if we need it." "We won't need all night." Daniel pointed at the oak tree. "It's right there, 3 feet down, just like the ground-penetrating radar showed." They'd used GPR. I'd counted on that. Amateurs always use technology before they use their brains. Marcus started digging first. The sound of metal hitting earth carried on the night air. Chunk, chunk, chunk. Each strike recorded in high-definition audio. 20 minutes in, the shovel hit something solid. "That's it!" Daniel dropped to his knees, pushing dirt aside with his hands. "I can see the edge!" They pulled out the first container, 4 by 2 feet, military grade, waterproof seal intact. "Jesus, it's heavy," Marcus grunted. "That's because it's full of gold, Marcus." Lisa had arrived. I watched her car pull up, watched her step into frame. The whole family, the whole conspiracy. They opened the container on my lawn, right there under the oak tree where Margaret and I had pledged our love 43 years ago. Gold coins spilled out. Spray-painted lead, stacks of $100 bills, marked FBI currency. It looked like a pirate's treasure chest. For a moment, they just stared. Then Lisa started crying. Oh my God, it's real." "How much do you think is here?" Daniel's voice shook. Marcus was already counting, his financial advisor brain engaged. "The bills, Jesus, there's at least $200,000 in cash, and the gold coins, if these are what I think they are." "What are they?" "Krugerrands. South African gold. Each one is worth about $2,000. He ran his hands through the coins. "There's got to be 100 coins here, maybe more." Daniel did the math out loud. 200,000 in cash plus 200,000 in gold. That's $400,000 in one container. "How many containers did Dad bury?" Lisa asked. They looked at each other, then back at the hole, then at my yard. "We need to keep digging," Marcus decided. They found the second container an hour later. It was buried in exactly the same spot. I'd stacked them. Same contents, same marked bills, same fake gold. By 10 p.m., they'd hauled $800,000 worth of traceable federal crime to Marcus's BMW, and every single second was on camera. They stood in my driveway, dirty and sweating, and divided up their father's life savings. "We split it 3 ways," Marcus said, $266,000 each, with the remainder going to the estate planning fund. "Estate planning fund?" Daniel looked confused. "For Dad's care. We're not monsters." The irony would have been funny if it wasn't so sickening. "What do we tell him?" Lisa asked. "Nothing. We don't tell him anything. He doesn't even remember where he buried it. In a month, he won't remember he ever had it." They loaded the money into 3 separate bags. Marcus kept his in his BMW's trunk. Lisa put hers in her minivan, hidden under soccer equipment. Daniel strapped his to his motorcycle in a waterproof bag. At 11:47 p.m., they left my property. At 11:48 p.m., I went to Lisa's bathroom and threw up. Not from fear, not from shock, from rage, from grief, from the absolute certainty that I had just watched my children destroy themselves and there was no going back. I splashed water on my face, looked at myself in the mirror. I looked old, actually old, not playing a part. The last 6 months had aged me in ways Margaret's death hadn't. "It's almost over, Maggie," I whispered. "Just a little longer." I waited 72 hours before making my first move. 3 days to let them get comfortable. 3 days to let them dream about what they'd do with their stolen money. 3 days to let the weight of what they'd done settle into their bones. On day 4, I called the IRS. The tip line was anonymous. I didn't need to give my name, just the facts. "I'd like to report suspected tax fraud. Marcus Patterson, financial advisor, Columbus, Ohio, recently came into possession of over $250,000 in unreported income." The agent on the line sounded bored. "And how do you know this?" I saw him deposit large amounts of cash at Fifth Third Bank on September 26th, multiple transactions just under $10,000, classic structuring to avoid reporting requirements. That got their attention. Structuring, breaking large deposits into smaller ones to avoid federal reporting, was a federal crime. The IRS took it very seriously. "I'll need your contact information." I hung up. Marcus had tried to be smart, tried to deposit his money in chunks over several days, 8,000 here, 9,000 there, thought he was flying under the radar. But banks are required to report suspicious activity and financial advisors depositing huge amounts of cash? That's suspicious as hell. The cameras I'd hidden in his office caught everything. The bank called him 3 days later. "Mr. Patterson, we need to discuss some recent activity on your account." Marcus, confident, "Sure, what's up?" "We've noticed some unusual deposits, large amounts of cash." "Yeah, I had some money saved. Decided to finally deposit it." "I see. Can you tell me where this money came from?" "Family savings. Is there a problem?" "We're required to file a currency transaction report for any deposits over $10,000. You've made 5 deposits totaling $98,000 in the past week. But each one was under $10,000? "Yes. That's called structuring, Mr. Patterson. It's illegal. The IRS has been notified." The camera captured Marcus's face going pale. "There must be some mistake." "No mistake, sir. You'll likely hear from federal investigators soon. In the meantime, we're freezing your accounts pending resolution." Marcus hung up, sat at his desk for 3 full minutes without moving. Then he called Lisa. "We have a problem." Lisa made a different mistake. She used her share to pay off credit cards her husband didn't know about. $78,000 in secret debt. Designer clothes, luxury vacations she'd charged while Tom was working overtime. She'd been hiding the bills for 2 years, intercepting statements, creating fake email accounts. The money from my yard was her salvation. She could pay everything off, destroy the evidence, and Tom would never know, except I already knew. I'd accessed her credit reports months ago, another FBI trick. When you're building a case, you investigate everything. Her debt was documented. Her payment history was documented. And her sudden ability to pay off $78,000 in a single week, that was very, very documented. I sent Tom an anonymous letter, included copies of the credit card statements, included a note. "Your wife has been lying to you. Ask her about the credit cards. Ask her where she got the money to pay them off." I mailed it from a post office 3 towns over. No return address, no fingerprints. Tom found the letter on a Monday morning. The cameras in Marcus's car picked up Lisa's phone call 2 hours later. "He knows. Tom knows about the credit cards." "How?" Marcus demanded. "Someone sent him statements, all of them, and he's asking where I got the money." "What did you tell him?" "I don't know. I couldn't explain it. He thinks I'm having an affair, thinks some boyfriend paid off my debt." "Lisa, calm down. Calm down. My marriage is falling apart. He's talking about divorce, about taking the kids. Just tell him it was an inheritance from a dead aunt or something. We don't have any dead aunts, and even if we did, he'd want to see the will, the probate documents. Tom's not stupid, Marcus." "Then I don't know what to tell you. This is your fault. You said this would be easy. You said Dad would never know." "He doesn't know. This is something else. Just handle it." Marcus hung up. Lisa kept calling. He didn't answer. 2 days later, Tom moved out, took the kids to his mother's house, filed for divorce. Lisa showed up at my door, mascara running, hands shaking. "Dad, I need your help." I opened the door slowly, squinting like I'd just woken up. "Lisa, what time is it?" "Tom left me. He thinks I did something terrible." "Did you?" She broke down crying on my porch. Real tears this time. "I made mistakes, Dad, but I was trying to fix them. I was trying to make everything right." "Come inside, sweetheart." We sat in the kitchen. I made her tea while she sobbed. Part of me, the father part, wanted to comfort her. Tell her it would be okay? But the investigator part, the part that had spent decades building cases against people just like her, knew this was necessary. Lisa, where did you get the money to pay off your credit cards? She froze. What? Tom mentioned it on the phone yesterday, said you'd suddenly paid off $78,000 in debt. Where did that money come from? I had it saved. Don't lie to me. I let my voice get hard, dropped the confused old man act. I'm your father. I know when you're lying. She stared at me. For the first time, she looked uncertain, like maybe her senile old father wasn't quite as lost as she'd thought. It was an inheritance, she finally said, from Aunt Helen. Aunt Helen is still alive. Try again. Lisa stood up, backing toward the door. I have to go. Lisa! But she was already gone, running to her car like the house was on fire. Against Daniel, Daniel made the dumbest mistake of all three. He invested his share in cryptocurrency, $266,000 into Bitcoin, Ethereum, and something called Mooncoin that I'm pretty sure was a scam. He thought he'd double his money, thought he'd found the golden ticket. The market crashed 2 weeks later. He lost $140,000 overnight, and then the FBI came knocking. Because I'd reported the serial numbers on those marked bills, called my old unit, the Financial Crimes Division, and gave them a list of every bill in Daniel's possession. Marked currency from the 2007 Castellano money laundering case, I told Agent Sarah Kim. She'd been my protege, a brilliant investigator who'd worked under me for 8 years. James, those bills were supposed to be destroyed. They were supposed to be, but someone kept them as training materials, and now they're in circulation. Where? My son has them. Long silence. Your son? He stole them from my property. I have video evidence. He's been trying to spend them, invest them. Some went into cryptocurrency exchanges. Jesus Christ, James. Can you help me? I can open an investigation, but James, if your son possessed marked federal bills, he's looking at serious charges, federal time. I know. And you're okay with that? I thought about Margaret, thought about the promise I'd made. Don't let them become monsters. I'm not okay with any of this, Sarah, but it needs to happen. The raid happened at 6 a.m. on October 10th. 6 FBI agents with a warrant. They tore Daniel's apartment apart, found the remaining cash hidden in his closet, found records of his cryptocurrency transactions. Daniel called me from the police station. Dad, they arrested me. The FBI, they say I had stolen money. What? I played confused. Who arrested you? The FBI, they say the money was marked, that it was from some old federal case. But that's impossible, right? Right, Dad? I don't understand, Daniel. The money from your yard, where did you get it? What money, Daniel? You're not making sense. The money He stopped, realized what he was about to confess. Never mind, Dad, I gotta go. He hung up. I sat in my kitchen and tried to feel something other than tired, tried to feel victorious, justified, satisfied. But all I felt was old, small victories. Pure and number 5, the collapse. The GPS trackers showed my children's movements as their lives fell apart. Marcus drove to Lisa's house 3 times in 1 week, each visit captured on audio. You told Dad about the money? I didn't tell him anything, but he knows, Marcus. He knows about the credit cards, about Tom, about everything. How? I don't know. But Dad, he wasn't confused today. He was sharp, like he used to be. He's faking, Marcus concluded. He's been faking. What? Think about it. The convenient stroke right before we got the POA, the way he accidentally mentioned the treasure under the tree, the perfect timing of everything. You think Dad set us up? I think we need to talk to Daniel. But Daniel wasn't answering his phone. Daniel was sitting in a federal holding cell, trying to make bail he couldn't afford because his cryptocurrency had crashed and his accounts were frozen. The 3 of them finally met at Marcus's house on October 15th, the last time they'd all be in the same room before court. I listened via Marcus's car. They'd talked outside, paranoid about being recorded. "We're fucked," Daniel said flatly. "The FBI has me on possession of federal evidence, 5 to 10 years. "Can you make a deal?" Lisa asked. "Maybe. If I testify against whoever gave me the money." "You mean Dad?" "Dad didn't give me anything. We stole it. From his yard. On camera, probably." Marcus swore. "You think he recorded us?" "I think Dad was FBI for 35 years. I think he's smarter than we gave him credit for, and I think we're all going to jail." "Not if we tell them the truth," Lisa said. "Not if we explain that Dad's incompetent, that he doesn't even remember where the money came from." "The IRS froze my accounts," Marcus interrupted. "My employer launched an internal investigation. I'm suspended without pay pending resolution. My wife is talking about leaving me, and you think the truth is going to help us? So what do?" Silence. Then Marcus. "We confront him." They came to my house on a Tuesday morning, all three of them, angry, desperate, broken. I'd been waiting. I was in my garden when they arrived, actually working this time. The roses Margaret had planted were blooming late this year. She would have loved them. "Dad." Marcus's voice was cold. "We need to talk." I looked up, shaded my eyes against the October sun. "Oh, hello, kids. What a nice surprise. I was just—" "Cut the act," Marcus snapped. I stood slowly, brushed dirt from my knees. "Act? You did this on purpose." He was yelling now. The stroke, the confusion, the treasure, all of it was a setup. "Marcus, I don't know what you're—" "My marriage is over," Lisa shouted. "Tom took my kids, filed for divorce, and it's because of you." "And I'm facing federal charges," Daniel added, his voice shaking. 5 to 10 years, Dad. 5 to 10 years. I looked at each of them, saw the rage, saw the fear, saw what they'd become. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked quietly. "Because you did this." Marcus stepped closer. "You set us up. The money was fake, wasn't it? The gold coins, the marked bills. It was all bait." "I buried my life savings in my yard," I said slowly. "If you took it, that's theft." "You wanted us to take it," Lisa was crying now. "You left those bank statements where we'd find them. You talked about the treasure in front of us. You wanted us to dig it up." "Did I? Stop playing games." Marcus grabbed my arm. "You've been faking this whole time. The forgetfulness, the confusion, none of it was real." I pulled my arm free. When I spoke, my voice was different, clearer, sharper. The voice of the man I'd been for 35 years at the FBI. "No, none of it was real." They all froze. Marcus's face went white. "You were testing us." "I was." "You son of a bitch." Lisa's voice was barely a whisper. "You watched us. You recorded us. You destroyed our lives on purpose." "No," I corrected. "You destroyed your own lives. I just documented it." "We're your children," Daniel shouted. "How could you do this to us? How could you do this to me?" I shot back. "I raised you, loved you, sacrificed everything for you, and the moment you thought I was weak, you tried to steal from me. You tried to have me declared incompetent. You were going to put me in a home and take everything your mother and I spent 40 years building. We were protecting you. You were robbing me." The words tore out of me. "You went through my home like thieves. You lied to doctors, to lawyers, to each other. You dug up my yard at midnight and stole money that wasn't yours. You divided up my life while I was still living it." "That money was going to be ours anyway," Marcus argued. "When you died, if it was yours, if I chose to leave it to you, but I hadn't died, Marcus. I was still here, still alive, still your father, and you couldn't even wait." Silence fell over the garden. A crow cawed from the oak tree. The wind rustled through Margaret's roses. "Your mother made me promise something before she died," I continued softly. "She said, 'Don't let them become monsters, James.' But I failed her, because I didn't create your greed. I just revealed it, and now you have to live with what you've done." "Dad," Lisa started. I have video of everything. The digging, the theft, your conversations in Marcus's car. Every crime you committed is documented. The FBI has it. The IRS has it. The court has it. You're sending us to prison. Daniel looked sick. No, you sent yourselves. I just showed them the way. Marcus lunged at me. I didn't move. Didn't need to. Because my brother Ray had been standing in the doorway recording everything. That's assault, Marcus, Ray said calmly. Want to add it to your list? Marcus turned, saw Ray, saw the camera. Uncle Ray, you're part of this? I've been part of this since the beginning, Ray confirmed. James told me what you were planning 6 months ago. I didn't believe him. Told him his kids wouldn't do that, but he knew. He knew you better than I did. Everyone's against us, Lisa whispered. No, I corrected. Everyone's against criminals. You just happen to be them. Small victory, the confession. What they didn't know, what they couldn't have known, was that every word of this confrontation was being recorded in 4K from 6 different angles. The camera in the doorbell, the camera in the garden gnome Margaret had bought as a joke, the camera in Ray's phone, the cameras I'd sewn into my shirt pocket. They confessed to everything, planning to have me declared incompetent, forging my signature on documents, hiring the private investigator, reading my personal papers, the midnight theft, all of it, on camera, in their own words. You admit you took money from my yard without my permission, I asked, making sure the audio was crystal clear. Yes, but you admit you planned to have me institutionalized? We were protecting you. You admit you lied to doctors and lawyers about my mental state. Dad, you don't understand. I understand perfectly. You're criminals, and criminals face consequences. They left 20 minutes later, defeated, destroyed, desperately hoping I'd change my mind. I wouldn't. The court hearing was scheduled for November 2nd. My children hired 3 different lawyers, expensive ones they couldn't afford but had no choice about. Their defense was simple. Dad's money laundering. We're innocent victims who didn't know the currency was marked. My lawyer, Rob Drummond, had a different story to tell. Your Honor, I'd like to call James Patterson to the stand. I walked to the witness box in my good suit. The same suit I'd worn to testify in drug cartel cases, in mob trials, in white-collar fraud prosecutions. I placed my hand on the Bible and swore to tell the truth. And then I told it. All of it. Margaret's death, my grief, the buried savings, the tests I'd run, the betrayal I'd discovered, the trap I'd set, the evidence I'd gathered. Rob projected the videos on a screen. The judge watched Marcus digging up my yard, watched them divide the money, watched them celebrate their theft. Then Rob called the witnesses. Uncle Ray testified that he'd heard my children planning the theft, had witnessed their manipulation, had recorded their confession. Aunt Helen, Margaret's sister, testified that during Margaret's final days, the children had been cold, calculating, more interested in discussing the will than comforting their dying mother. Dr. Bar Chen testified that my stroke was staged, that I was cognitively sound, that the entire medical episode was part of an investigation. Agent Sarah Kim from the FBI testified about the marked bills, about their origin, about the federal crime Daniel had committed by possessing them. Rob Drummond presented the power of attorney documents I'd signed under duress, along with his documentation of the coercion. And through it all, my 3 children sat at the defense table watching their lives unravel in real time. The judge called a recess. We waited. When court reconvened, the judge looked tired, disappointed, the way Margaret used to look when one of the kids had done something particularly hurtful. I've seen a lot of cases in my 30 years on the bench, she said, but this is one of the saddest. 3 adult children attempting to rob and institutionalize their father. Mr. Patterson, the elder Mr. Patterson, you've presented compelling evidence of theft, fraud, conspiracy, and elder abuse. She turned to my children. Marcus Patterson, you're facing IRS charges of structuring and tax fraud. Lisa Patterson Thompson, your divorce proceedings will be affected by these revelations. Daniel Patterson, you're facing federal charges for possession of marked currency. All three of you are facing civil suits for theft and conspiracy. Your Honor, Marcus's lawyer started, I'm not finished. The power of attorney you obtained from Mr. Patterson is hereby declared null and void, obtained under false pretenses and duress. Mr. Patterson's competency is confirmed, and I'm granting him a permanent restraining order against all three of you. You are not to contact him, approach him, or come within 500 feet of his property. Your Honor, they're his children, Lisa's lawyer protested. They're criminals who targeted their father, the judge corrected, and they're lucky he's not pressing additional charges. Mr. Patterson, do you have anything you'd like to say? I stood, looked at my children one last time. I loved you, I said simply. I still do. But love doesn't mean accepting abuse. Your mother taught me that. She also taught me that actions have consequences. You've made your choices. Now you live with them. The gavel fell. The legal destruction came in waves, not all at once. That would have been too merciful. Instead, it rolled over my children like a slow tide, each wave pulling away another piece of the lives they'd built on lies. Marcus fell first. The Ohio State Board of Financial Services moved quickly. When a licensed financial advisor is under IRS investigation for structuring and tax fraud, they don't wait for conviction. They suspend first, investigate later. Marcus got the letter on November 8th. I know because his lawyer filed a motion to delay, and court documents are public record. License suspended pending resolution of federal tax investigation. All client accounts to be transferred within 30 days. 23 years of building his practice. Gone in a single letter. His clients left in droves. When your financial advisor can't explain where he got $250,000 in cash, you don't wait around to see if he's guilty. You move your money and thank God it wasn't yours he stole. The IRS assessment came 2 weeks later, $287,000 in back taxes, penalties, and interest on unreported income, money Marcus didn't have because he'd already spent most of it trying to clean up the mess, lawyer fees, accountant fees, desperate attempts to make the charges disappear. His wife Jennifer filed for divorce on November 20th. I wasn't surprised. Jennifer was a good woman, a pediatric nurse, kind, honest, the kind of woman who married Marcus believing he shared her values. She'd been married to an illusion. The divorce was brutal. Jennifer's attorney presented the evidence: Marcus's theft, his conspiracy with his siblings, his willingness to institutionalize his father for money. The judge wasn't sympathetic. Jennifer got the house, the cars, primary custody of my grandchildren. Marcus got supervised visitation and a child support bill he couldn't pay. By January, Marcus was bankrupt. The kind of bankruptcy that strips everything. No house, no savings, no retirement. He moved into a one-bedroom apartment in the bad part of town. The kind of place where the locks don't work right and you hear your neighbors fighting through the walls. I drove by once. Just once. Saw his BMW in the parking lot, looking out of place among the beat-up Hondas and rusted pickup trucks. Saw him coming out with a load of laundry, thinner than I remembered, wearing clothes that didn't fit right anymore. He saw me too. Our eyes met across the parking lot. I drove away. Lisa's destruction was quieter, but no less complete. Tom Thompson was a good man. Better than Lisa deserved, honestly. He'd worked double shifts to support their family while Lisa spent money they didn't have on things they didn't need. And when he found out she'd stolen from her father to cover her debts, when he learned she'd planned to institutionalize me, he stopped being understanding and started being smart. His lawyer was vicious, presented evidence of Lisa's financial fraud, her conspiracy to commit elder abuse, her secret debt, her willingness to lie to everyone, including her own husband. The judge gave Tom everything: full custody of Emma and Jake, the house, the cars, even the dog. Lisa got supervised visitation every other weekend and a court order to pay child support she couldn't afford. But the worst part, the part that really broke her, was the restraining order I got. After the court hearing, Lisa had shown up at my house, drunk, screaming, blaming me for ruining her life, for destroying her marriage, for taking her children. She'd thrown a rock through my front window, called me names that would have made Margaret cry. The police came. Ray had already called them. He was staying with me then, making sure I was safe. Lisa spent the night in jail, was charged with vandalism and violation of a restraining order that hadn't even been finalized yet. The judge made it permanent. 500 feet, always. Lisa couldn't drop off the kids at school because I volunteered there sometimes. Couldn't go to church because I'd been a member for 40 years. Couldn't shop at the grocery store where Margaret and I had shopped every Sunday for decades. So she left, moved to Arizona in February. Some cousin offered her a couch, a chance to start over. She took it because she had no other choice. My grandchildren asked about her sometimes. "Where's Mommy?" Tom would look at me, uncertain how to answer. I'd just say, "She's working through some things, buddy, but she loves you very much." The first part was true anyway. Daniel's fall was the hardest to watch. He was the youngest, the one I'd carried on my shoulders at parades, the one who'd brought me dandelions and called them sunshine flowers. Watching him face federal charges felt like watching someone drown. The FBI didn't mess around with marked currency. Agent Kim offered him a deal: plead guilty to possession of federal evidence, testify against his siblings if needed, accept 2 years probation and a $100,000 fine. The alternative was trial, 5 to 10 years in federal prison. Daniel took the deal. The plea hearing was January 15th. I sat in the back row, where he couldn't see me. Watched him stand before the judge in a suit that was too big for him now. He'd lost weight, lost that confident swagger he used to have. "Mr. Patterson, do you understand that by accepting this plea, you're admitting to knowingly possessing marked federal currency?" "Yes, Your Honor." "And you understand this conviction will remain on your record permanently?" "Yes, Your Honor." 2 years probation, $100,000 in fines, payable over 5 years. If you violate probation in any way, you'll serve the full federal sentence. Do you understand? "Yes, Your Honor." The gavel fell. Daniel walked out of that courtroom a convicted felon. His teaching career was over before it started. He'd spent 6 years getting his degree, student teaching, building his resume, had finally landed a position at a good elementary school, was supposed to start in September. One phone call to the school district. "We need to inform you that Daniel Patterson has been convicted of federal charges. Position withdrawn. No discussion. No second chances. Criminal records and teaching children don't mix." By March, Daniel was working retail, stocking shelves at Target for $14 an hour, trying to pay off a $100,000 fine on a salary that barely covered rent. His probation officer visited monthly, drug tested him, made sure he wasn't violating any terms. He'd be doing this for 2 years, and when it was over, the conviction would still be there, always there. Following him to every job interview, every background check, every chance at rebuilding his life. If they only knew what one night of greed would cost them. But that's the thing about consequences. You never think they'll apply to you until they do. The final hearing was March 30th. Civil court this time, to determine the disposition of my estate and formally invalidate all previous claims my children had made. I'd asked to make a statement. The judge agreed. I walked to the witness stand one last time. My children sat with their lawyers, looking smaller somehow, diminished. Marcus in his cheap suit. Lisa via video call from Arizona, her face hard and tired. Daniel staring at his hands. I placed my hand on the Bible, swore to tell the truth. Then I told them everything. "Your Honor, I spent 35 years catching people who steal from those who trust them. I tracked drug money through shell corporations. I unraveled Ponzi schemes that destroyed families. I put white-collar criminals in prison who thought they were too smart to get caught." I looked at my children. My children thought I was weak, senile, an easy target. They watched me struggle with grief after their mother died, and instead of helping me through it, they saw opportunity. But every moment of confusion was calculated, Every forgotten detail was a test. Every mistake was deliberate. Rob Drummond pulled up the evidence on the courtroom screens. Security camera footage. Hours of it. My children searching my house, going through my papers, plotting in whispered conversations. The group chat labeled estate planning, where they discussed my incompetency like it was a foregone conclusion. Marcus's journal documenting my supposed decline. Each entry a lie designed to support their case. They hired a private investigator to track my assets, I continued. They forged documents. They pressured me to sign a power of attorney while I was supposedly recovering from a stroke that never happened. They dug up my backyard and stole what they thought was $850,000. The video played. Marcus swinging the shovel, Lisa crying tears of greed, Daniel counting money that would destroy him, all of it in crystal clear 4K. The gold was fake, spray-painted lead coins. The cash was marked federal currency from a 2007 case. Every bill traceable, every coin worthless. I buried that container the day before they dug it up, knowing they'd take it, knowing they'd commit federal crimes on camera. Marcus's lawyer objected. Your Honor, this was entrapment. No, I cut in. Entrapment is when law enforcement induces someone to commit a crime they wouldn't otherwise commit. I didn't induce anything. I simply gave my children the opportunity to reveal who they really were. They chose to take it. The judge nodded. Continue, Mr. Patterson. The real money, the actual $850,000 my wife and I saved over 43 years of marriage, is still buried on my property. In 4 different locations my children never found. Because they weren't looking for my life savings. They were looking for their inheritance, and that's the difference. I pulled out the burial map, showed the 4 locations, not the oak tree, not anywhere they'd searched. Under the garden shed foundation, beneath Margaret's rose bushes, inside the old well in the koi pond, that's where a man hides something he wants to protect, not in the obvious place, not where someone would find it if they were looking. The courtroom was silent. Your Honor, Margaret made me promise something before she died. My voice cracked. First time in months I let it. She grabbed my hand with what little strength she had left and said, "Don't let them become people who would steal from their own father." I thought I could prevent it. Thought if I tested them, they'd prove her wrong. They'd show me they were better than their greed. I looked at my children again. Marcus was crying now. Lisa's video feed showed her with her head in her hands. Daniel stared at me with hollow eyes. I failed her, I said quietly. They were already those people. I just didn't want to see it. But I could still teach them that actions have consequences, that you can't prey on the people who love you and expect no repercussions, that blood means nothing if there's no respect. Mr. Patterson, the judge said gently, what do you want the court to do? I want my estate to go where it was always meant to go, to the American Cancer Society, in memory of Margaret Louise Patterson. Every penny, every coin, my children will inherit nothing. Dad, Marcus started. I'm not finished, I said, steel in my voice. They're welcome to rebuild a relationship with me, on my terms, with honesty, with respect. But the money is off the table, forever. Uncle Ray will serve as my power of attorney. My will is filed with the court. And if anything happens to me, if I die under suspicious circumstances, everything is already documented. The judge looked at my children. Do any of you wish to contest this? Their lawyers whispered urgently in their ears. But what could they say? Every crime was documented, every lie exposed, every betrayal proven. No, Your Honor, Marcus's lawyer finally said. The gavel fell. Case closed. I sold the house in May. Too many memories, too many ghosts. Margaret in the kitchen making Sunday dinner, the kids playing in the backyard before they learned to steal, the life we'd built together, now just rooms full of echoes. Ray helped me pack. We were methodical about it. 43 years of marriage doesn't fit in boxes easily. Every item had a story. Every photo was a reminder of what used to be. You doing okay? Ray asked. Wrapping Margaret's china? No, I admitted, but I will be. I bought a small condo in Charlotte, North Carolina. 1 bedroom, modern kitchen, no yard to bury things in. Started over at 68 years old with nothing but my real savings and a clear conscience. The American Cancer Society received the donation in June, $850,000, in Margaret's name. They were building a new research wing at Duke University Hospital. It would be called the Margaret Louise Patterson Center for Pancreatic Cancer Research. She'd wanted her death to mean something. Now it would. I stopped pretending. Stopped playing the confused old man. Stopped testing people to see if they'd take advantage. Started living like I had time left, because I did. Reconnected with old friends from the Bureau. Tom Rodriguez came up from Florida. We went fishing, told lies about the cases we'd worked. Dr. Chen and his wife invited me to dinner parties. Agent Kim asked me to guest lecture at the FBI Academy about long-term investigations. I volunteered at the Senior Center teaching financial literacy. How to protect yourself from financial abuse was my most popular class. I told my story, changed the names, but the lessons were real. People listened, people learned, and slowly, surprisingly, I found peace. Not the peace of having my family back, that was gone, maybe forever, but the peace of knowing I'd done the right thing, the hard thing, the thing Margaret had asked me to do. Teach them, James. Don't let them become monsters. I'd taught them. Whether they learned was up to them. My grandchildren asked about me sometimes. Tom told me that. Why can't we see Grandpa? Grandpa's not mad at you, Tom would explain. Grandpa loves you very much. Things are just complicated right now. He brought them by one Saturday in July. Just him and the kids, no Lisa. We went to the park, fed the ducks, got ice cream. Emma and Jake hugged me tight when they left. We miss you, Grandpa. I miss you too, Sunshine. Tom pulled me aside before they left. Marcus wants to talk to you. He's asked me to ask you. I told him I wouldn't pressure you, but he's been attending counseling, working on himself. I think he's genuinely sorry. Sorry he got caught or sorry he did it? I don't know, but maybe that's something you could find out. I thought about it for a week. Finally sent Marcus a text. Coffee, Tuesday, 10 a.m., downtown Starbucks. He showed up early, looked nervous, older. He'd aged 5 years and 6 months. We sat across from each other like strangers. In a way, we were. Dad, let me talk first, I interrupted. You're my son. I'll always love you, but I don't trust you, and I'm not sure I ever will again. I know. You tried to rob me, to institutionalize me, to steal everything your mother and I built. I know. So here's what I'm offering. We can rebuild a relationship, slowly, on my terms. You'll attend family counseling with me. You'll be honest, and the money is off the table forever. You understand? Even if we fix this, even if we become father and son again, you get nothing when I die. Marcus nodded, tears running down his face. I don't want your money anymore, Dad. I just want my father back. We'll see, I said. Coffee next Tuesday, same time. If you show up, we'll talk. If you don't, I'll know you're not serious. He showed up, every Tuesday for 3 months. Sometimes we talked about the past. Sometimes we sat in silence. But slowly, carefully, we started building something new. Not trust, not yet, but maybe the foundation for it. Lisa called once, from Arizona, drunk, I think. Dad, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. I know. Can I come home? Arizona is your home now, Lisa. But the kids. Tom has the kids, and that's best for everyone. You need to work on yourself before you can be a mother to them again. She cried. I let her. Then I hung up. Daniel never called. Too proud, maybe, or too ashamed. But I saw him once, at the Target where he worked. He saw me too. Started to walk over, then stopped. Turned away. I finished shopping. Left. Some bridges stay burned. I'm sitting in my condo now, writing this story. It's been a year since that night I watched Marcus dig up my backyard. A year since everything changed. People ask me if I regret it, If I wish I'd just given them the money, kept the peace, maintained the illusion of family, and I tell them the truth, no. Because here's what I've learned in 68 years. If you think your kids would never do this to you, think again. Greed changes people. Desperation changes people. And sometimes the people you raised become strangers wearing familiar faces. But here's the other truth, the harder truth. The best revenge isn't destroying them. It's protecting yourself and letting their own choices destroy them. I didn't ruin my children's lives. They did that themselves. I just documented it. Marcus had a choice when he found those bank statements. He could have asked me about them, could have offered to help manage my finances if he was genuinely worried. Instead, he plotted to steal them. Lisa had a choice when her marriage was drowning in secret debt. She could have been honest with Tom, worked together to fix it. Instead, she stole from her father to cover her lies. Daniel had a choice when they dug up that yard. He could have said no, could have walked away. Instead, he loaded marked federal currency onto his motorcycle and drove it into his own destruction. Every choice was theirs. Every consequence was earned. And me? I'm finally free. Free from worry about who's trying to take advantage of me. Free from pretending to be someone I'm not. Free from the weight of protecting people who were never trying to protect me. Margaret would have been proud. Not of the pain, she never wanted that, but of the lesson, of standing up, of teaching our children that actions have consequences, even when it breaks your heart to do it. I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina. Started over here at an age when most people are settled into their final chapter. And you know what? It's not so bad. I volunteer, I fish. I spend time with people who actually care about me, not my bank account. What city are you watching from? Drop it in the comments, because I want you to know you're not alone if you're facing something like this. Elder abuse is real. Financial exploitation is real. And sometimes the predators are the people you raised. If you think parents should protect themselves from greedy children, smash that like button. Share this story, because family should mean something more than a bank account. It should mean love, respect, protection, and if it doesn't, then maybe it's not family at all. Maybe it's just people who share your DNA. Blood means nothing if there's no respect. Real family protects each other. They don't prey on each other. My children made their choices. They're living with the consequences. And I'm living my life. That's not revenge. That's justice. And sometimes, justice is the kindest thing you can do. If this story resonated with you, please subscribe to hear more stories about justice, family, and the price of betrayal. Because everyone deserves to know they can protect themselves, even from the people they love most.